speak love, everyone loves Lulu. See love, hear love, speak love, everyone loves Lulu.
What is going on, gorgeous? It's me, your girl, Miss Lulu. Another episode of Everyone Loves Lulu, and I've got always a treat for you. This big, handsome man right next to me is the Director of Leadership and Community Outreach with the After School All-Stars Los Angeles, or known as ACES, right? Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Please welcome Donny for ALILIU. What is going on, Donny?
Man, good. Happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
I am so excited to have you. We've known each other for quite a few years now.
Yeah.
And diving into your background, I want to first ask, how are you doing post COVID, I guess?
Doing good. I think it's definitely been, as far as like just self and mental health, right? I think it was something that has really been consistent, has been like my morning rituals, right? So my morning rituals consist of, and as you brought my little nephew with me, so we do these daily mantras every morning. And so the daily mantra I do with him, I've been doing it with him since he was 3.
Oh, wow.
He's 7 now, right?
So he's got 4 years under his belt.
So every morning, it's, I love myself, I respect myself, I believe in myself because I'm awesome, I'm amazing, I'm a champion, and we never give up, right? So just be able to model that with him, be able to say it with him.
Also could be daily affirmations.
Exactly.
Right? Okay, so your mantra.
So that just really helps to, kind of set the tone for the day, right? Really kind of lay out, meditate, prayer, listen to inspirational, motivational videos. Those are things that help me personally to kind of help set the tone. And then I'm ready to, to be able to jump into my day, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's definitely been a huge help for me.
And so that's what got you through the pandemic.
For sure. And then, definitely through prayer, through my spiritual background of just, staying locked in, right?
And that's a different type of discipline as well, because you're an outgoing person, we're outgoing people, and then we're a family community, right? Like family is our community, and when they tell us to quarantine at home, just your immediate family, well, that's a whole village right there.
Yeah, no, that was tough. I mean, I had to even with my fitness, so pre-COVID, doing sparring races and doing marathons and doing all these different crazy events.
Yeah, which I can't wait to get into that as well.
The fitness community, just working out at home. I literally was just doing workouts, different challenges and stuff with the team in the living room. Invited my little nephew. He jumped in with me, and then we finally got to the point where we got to get out, go to the park, right, and just continue to stay active.
Yeah, get some actual vitamin D, right?
Right.
Well, that's wonderful. What did you actually experience? Some of your loved ones go through COVID, or did you yourself go through COVID?
Yeah, man. It's interesting. I think last week, a lot of the family didn't know. My whole family got hit.
Oh my gosh.
My whole family got hit with COVID.
How are they doing?
The first, we're all doing fine now, right? We were able to get over that challenge, and it was literally the first week of the year.
Oh, in January.
January. So literally.
You're like, 2021. Oh,
yeah,
shit.
man.
We're back to, we have COVID now.
So we do this hike January 1st, New Year's at the Hollywood Sign.
Your whole family?
Yeah, it was actually me and some of my siblings.
Oh, that's awesome.
And a couple days later, boom, we get hit, right?
And it was the Hollywood sign probably is what gave it to you.
Man, I don't know, probably.
That Hollywood air, okay?
Man. But, just being blessed to, just be alive, man, today. I mean, we've lost so many loved ones and family and close friends, right? And so, just be able to be blessed, man, to wake up every day, to be able to, to just, again, man, just be blessed and grateful to be alive.
Amen to that. Definitely. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary of having COVID, and it kicked my ass. I'm not gonna lie. I had it July 11th. I will never forget it. It's like D-Day. It's like, oh, July 11th. I had all the symptoms in the world, and then I had it. It took me about 2 months to actually get over it. Like, I was very grateful for my teammate, Joe Sav, calling me every day, not really caring, but he just he's like, hey, are you alive? Oh, damn. All right. No, but really the support and just going through that, what I experienced was that, you're hearing so much information, right? Because everybody's stuck at home. And so
Right.
all these theories are coming out and you're trying to sift through the bullshit and trying to figure like, is this true? Is that true?
Yeah.
Who do I listen to?
Yeah.
But, and the biggest thing was that it was a hoax or that it wasn't real. Well, damn, it was real. It was very real
Yeah.
for me, at least. Like, I
Yep.
can't explain to you just, I mean, how much it kicked my ass. And I have never been more grateful just to breathe and actually be alive and to be around,
Yeah.
you and just and fellowship again, because just the thought of a world without being able to touch each other, without being able to embrace one another is
Most
like,
definitely. Yeah, just that social human connection, right?
yes.
And we've all been missing. And so, just to be able to be here with you now,
Yeah.
right? Unmasked.
Right.
And be able to be like, hey,
We're like elbow to elbow.
Right. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, I'm so glad that you guys came out on the other side,
Yeah, me
okay,
too.
and
Yeah.
thriving. Let's get into what it is that you do. Okay, so you are the Director of Leadership and Community Outreach for the After School All Stars of Los Angeles, and you've been doing this now for about 17 years. Same company
Yeah.
or different entity?
Yeah, so same company. So After School All Stars Los Angeles is the LA chapter. So we're part of a national network. There's 19 other chapters in 13 states.
Wow.
So here in LA alone, we're at 54 schools servicing K-12, right? Elementary, middle, high school. I mean, we have programs up in San Fernando Valley, stretching out to East LA, from downtown
And
Mid
that's
City
under
to South
all your
LA.
direction, like being the
And
director
that's
of
all,
that?
yeah. So,
You're in charge of 54 schools.
54 schools in terms of, just really working with our corporate community partners and just really looking at how we can provide these different opportunities, adding these different layers that the grants don't provide, right? And so, what we've done in terms of in person in the past is that we would have different professionals coming in, for example, our career exploration opportunities. That's one of our initiatives. And so we would have professionals come in, meet with students, do a career Q&A session with them. And we'll kind of do like the speed dating, right? So we had like 20 students,
nice.
like 5 professionals, 5 students per professional, do the whole rotation, and all that went well. But when COVID hit, we shifted, went Zoom, right? We were able to
And
still
those
do
came
that.
with their own challenges, but
Yeah.
you were able to
We were
manage.
able to shift and pivot, right? So we were
Wow.
able to do the breakout rooms. We were able to do the individual meet and greets. We were able to do career panels. We were able to connect with Island Avenue with Safavai.
Yeah.
And
Shout.
Tree and, Sunky, man, shout out to them. We were able to do a virtual tour, right, of Island Avenues, be able to see the behind the scenes of what it took, going into the manufacturing company, be able to see, the sew screening, how they put the hats and all the staff back there. So it really was great to be able to plant those seeds and continue to do the great work in terms of getting our students workforce ready.
Yeah.
Right.
And so
be able
that's
to
really what
carry
your
that
main
through.
goal is to get them workforce ready. That's what the after school initiative and program is for.
Yeah, so that's actually just one component of it.
Got
It's
it.
more of a comprehensive approach to the work. So we do everything around academic support. We do the visual performing arts, health, fitness, and nutrition. And then one of the other pieces that I'm responsible for too as well is the youth leadership piece. So with the youth leadership piece, that's where we've done a lot of great work this past year, especially during the pandemic. We've had students meet with like 24 of the elected official offices. We have this annual event in Sacramento that we would have students go in person, but this time it was virtual, right?
And that
so
already
we
happened then?
Yeah, so we
Okay.
did that this past March.
Oh, nice.
And so we were able to meet with almost like the full LA delegation of elected officials. And so students were able to meet with them, kind of talk about what are important issues that they want to take action on, and asking and challenging elected officials to say, hey, what are you doing around homelessness? What are you doing around youth violence? What are you doing around drug and alcohol, right? And if they didn't have an agenda and they, weren't pushing a policy, students would challenge them to say, hey, look, this is what's important to us. How can we, get together and create a policy where we can, really talk about making a difference within the community, right?
Right.
So that's been, it's been a blessing to be able to work with our students, and they're just amazing.
And then it's from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade?
Right. Yeah.
Holy cow. So
Yeah.
at any given point, how many students would you say is involved in your program?
So with our programs, we serve over 20,000 students annually amongst our 54 schools. We just picked up a couple more schools. We're actually currently right now in summer school. So in summer school right now, we just started last week. We have about 50 schools right now that we're working with, elementary, middle, and high school.
Okay, and so how do you get to be in the program? I know that you said you
Right,
do the
right.
speed dating, but what qualifies
Yeah.
you to be in the after school program?
So in order, so there's, we're just one of many after school providers that are out there. I've been in the game long enough to know that, you know what, like if I had an after school all-star shirt on, I've done a lot of work with the community where I tell parents that, hey, you got to find out, talk to your principals, talk to your counselors, find out who the after school provider is. Our students and students from other after school providers, students that enrolled at that school
Yeah.
are, then enroll into our program that we're at, right? And so only after school all-star students, like my little nephew, just blessed to, we're at, what was it, Dolores Elementary for the
Okay.
summer
Oh.
only. And so he gets a chance to be an all-star student.
Hey.
But, they have to be enrolled at that school to be able
Okay.
to participate in any,
Any of the after school
right, right.
programs.
So
Okay.
we're actually, in these schools, and so they enroll. They roll right when the bell rings. They roll right into our programs.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so does every student or is it more at-risk youth, or is it all of the above,
Right,
all
so-
ethnicities?
Yeah, it's a combination of everything, right? So we work closely with the schools and creating a seamless program. We're working with counselors. We're looking at, students that are homeless. We're looking at foster students. We're looking at students that are English language learners. So those are like the high priority students that we work with. But it's definitely open to all students that, that are enrolled at that school.
So walk me through what a typical day would be
Right.
working with these students.
So at the school sites, at the program, right, the very basic is like that first hour is like the academic support. So assisting them with homework. And then after that, you roll into enrichment. And so enrichment is anything from, sports, arts, science, robotics, SEL,
Nice.
social emotional learning.
Something that they
And again,
usually
this
call
whole-
extracurricular,
Right,
right? But
exactly.
yet that actually stems some more
Right.
creativity and some ideas.
Yeah, so one of the best examples that I share all the time is that science, for example, right? So when we talk about creating a seamless program, a lot of science teachers, they have science projects, but they're working on a pacing guide, right? So they have the curriculums, they're working on a pacing guide. They don't have enough time to do these science projects with their students. So they're able to do that with us, right,
Oh,
after
that's so
school. So
great.
we work closely with the schools. We're part of their what's called the school site council meetings. We're also in, just a different math department, the science department, English department, to really find out what are they doing and how can we help and support. What's like the supplemental work, right? So if students are done with the homework, then we could say, hey, they're like, hey, mister, like I'm done with my homework. Or hey, said mister, like we don't have any homework. Oh no, you got homework today. Like we checked in.
You got time to sit
Yeah.
down. You got time
Right,
to do
so-
some homework.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a comprehensive approach, right? A lot of people have this misunderstanding of, it's like a babysitting service, and it's like, no, that's
No.
not who we are. We're definitely more than
You're
so,
hands-on,
yeah, it's
making sure that
hands-on,
it's productive
comprehensive,
for
yeah,
them as well as
definitely
for
quality.
yourselves.
I think what sets us apart is, again, the different layers of programming. When we talk about a middle school to high school transition program, right? We have this curriculum that ends at the end of the year. Eighth graders, we have about 150 eighth graders that are on the college campus, get to live in
Already.
the college campus, in the dorms, taking educational classes, also talking about careers.
Oh
and
gosh, I
we
wish I
bring
knew
in
about this
professionals,
growing
right?
up.
So you have guest speakers, panels, and whatnot, and so that's every year, and that's just like one of the programs. I mean, we have students that are at camp right now. We had like 40 middle school students that are out. They actually come back tomorrow, and so I mean, it's just really, being very intentional in our approach to making sure that we're creating these real life experiences where students that where we're talking about students that are coming from these low income communities. We're talking about free and reduced lunch at over 90%, right? So you're
Have
looking
you
at
seen an improvement in that at all in the years that
yeah,
you've?
I think there's so many stories that I could share with you. With Joe Sav, back in the day, we
Definitely
used
at
to-
risk. Definitely.
So
Still is. I don't think the program helped him out.
Oh man, he's it's been crazy, man. Just looking at
But Joseph
we've
used to
been able
be
to do.
in a part of the
Right.
after school program as well, right?
Yeah, we both served together. It was at Thomas Edison Middle School out in South LA.
I love how you say
It's
that we
South
served
Central.
together,
And man, dude, it was some great work that we've done there. I mean, you're talking about like red carpet events,
Wow.
right? I remember Joe was at the street team. He went out there and got the rock, like on video.
What?
Right? I mean, literally on the gridiron set back in the day to get a shout out for All-Star of the Year. And so the
Oh,
Rock
that's
was able to,
incredible.
kind of bless us with, shouting out our students. So, we've had different folks come out, connecting with different radio stations and come out, rolling out the red carpet, doing this whole big award show event, performances, guest speakers, and just really kind of creating these, experiences for students to really be able to say, hey, this is something that they definitely remember. One of our students that actually went to Edison Middle School actually made his way to Harvard. Was able to graduate and then come back, and he actually paid for his sister's education.
Oh,
That she went to
wow.
Cal State Long Beach. She recently just graduated. But you hear stories like this, right, where students that have come from, I mean, just coming from the slums, coming from nothing, and then be able to create,
And already
an
the odds
opportunity
were
for
against
them
them.
for sure.
And for them to beat the
Yeah.
odds per se and then give back on top of it,
Yeah.
that's a lasting impression. And that's so great. Then
Right.
you're trying to break that mold, trying to break that cycle of dependency. Holy cow.
Yeah, I mean,
That's-
one of the things that I was really grateful and proud to hear was that when he came back, he mentioned his experience being at Harvard, right? And just being a part like the one percenters and going to their homes and mansions and not being shy, right? To say, hey, I'm a kid from South Central,
and I'm here.
right? And I'm here. So
Getting the same
What it
education.
did though is really challenge them to be able to be up to date with current events, be up to date with really knowing what's happening within the climate, the culture, school, whatever subject matter that they're in, their majors, and really being able to challenge themselves to really step up.
Yeah.
Right? So they definitely had this feeling like, man, I got to prove myself, I got to represent, I really got to show a different light, outside of what people see, right? Seeing coming from South Central, coming from Watts, and these are areas and communities that we're in.
Yeah,
Right.
very violent still, or have less resources that are
Yeah,
delegated to them.
sure.
And so, wow, that's
Yeah.
incredible, and I love to see that. Now, you are born and raised in Carson, and I mean, that's definitely, I mean, the city of Carson, although it's developed a lot, still had its challenges
Sure.
coming up, especially when you guys were growing up, you and Joseph. And when was the point that you actually knew that you wanted to give back to the community or wanted to be in community work?
I think it's just in our blood as Polynesians, right? I think that's something that's in our DNA in terms of coming back, giving back. We're very interdependent, very family oriented. So that didn't it wasn't foreign to us. And so for myself personally, growing up in the community in Carson, Island Avenue, aka Island Block. I mean, you're talking about Samoan families. We had our own little village on the block, right?
Right.
Kids were running around all over the place. I mean, everyone was watching each other's kids. Like, hey, you guys have any eggs over there? Hey, who has mayo? Can I come pick up some ketchup?
Right.
Or, and it was just, that tight-knit was a community that we grew up in. And I think that, I think as a kid, I had the opportunity to go to Samoa in the 6th grade and got to experience going to school there. And I'm
Holy
talking about going back to Western Samoa.
Oh, like
at the
Samoa,
time.
Samoa.
Yeah. So
in the
going,
cuts.
man, out there, man, shout out to my family out there, man. So Lulu Savali, man. And so going to school there, got to experience what life, man, on the island was like, man.
was
And,
not a
going up
walk
to the
in the park,
plantation, to
huh?
the mama, yeah, it was rough, right?
You don't work, you don't eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty
And
much
so,
what it is.
came
And
back home,
education,
and it was
I mean,
like-
especially in back home, I don't know if
Yeah.
you had the same experience, but it's more of a privilege and not an expectation, to where they could easily, because there's always work to be done.
Yeah.
Right. And so education is in the last kind of part of your mind, especially as a family who lives off the land. And you can't really lose members of your family to go to have higher education. Right. And so you got to experience that firsthand. I mean, it's changed a lot since then,
sure.
but yeah, that's definitely some of the challenges that you see from the island.
I think even, coming back from Samoa and then continuing on with school, right? Middle school, high school, graduating, and then moving on, going
Yeah.
to Harvard colleges where, it was like, man, I mean, just working construction, working at FedEx, working. And I was just like, that was just like, you know what? Like, I don't want to do hard labor.
Right.
Like, I want to go to school, right? I want to, there's got to be a better way,
There's
a
a
smarter
better
way
way.
to. And so,
I can work
I
smarter,
keep
not
hearing,
harder.
yeah, man. You keep hearing, go to school, and so, yeah, so I did exactly that. And
And
yeah,
so
it was a
did you,
blessing
like,
to
right
do
after
that.
high school, did you just carry on and go straight into what you wanted to do in college? Go straight to college?
So, I almost got caught in that cycle of right after high school, went to work,
Yeah.
right, to support the family, right? Everyone's just trying to pull their weight to support what was happening at home. And then, like I said, a couple of years, and I'm like, you know what? I had a conversation with an older gentleman in construction, and he was like, man, I'm 60 years old. He said, man, how old are you? And I'm like, 17.
Yeah.
And I was making some good money now, right? Like at
Right.
17,
And that's
I'm
hard to
making like
step away from that.
$600 a week.
Woo.
And so I'm like, financial literacy, don't even ask me about that. Didn't know what that was. All I knew was I had money, and I was like,
and I could
take
spend
the
it.
boys and we can go out to eat, and didn't understand how to manage that money at that time. But what that did for me was, he's like, man, you better go back to school. But it wasn't nothing new, right? The
You're like,
messaging
oh
of it all
gosh,
wasn't new.
same.
But it took a third party person to say, hey, man, you don't want to do this for the rest of your life, man. Don't
Like, I'm
don't get caught up
60.
in
Look
the
at
money,
me.
right?
I'm still doing this.
Yeah, it's like, man, don't get caught up in the money. Don't let the money, fool
Stop
you
you
into,
from-
staying here, right? It's like I just see way too much into really believing in me more than I actually believed in myself in that moment of time when he
Dude,
said,
and at
hey,
17, you
gotta go to
actually
school.
heeded that advice.
right.
Well, that's saying a lot about you, just, I mean, mentally, and your maturity at that level. I mean, first off, guys in general at 17 aren't that. No, generalizing, of course, but not that mature, especially when you start being thrust into, you come from, minimum wage, right? Or you're developing in your own community,
Right.
and your parents and your support system. And then you get thrust into, like you said, all this money.
Yeah.
Like $600 a week is nothing to balk about, right? Like,
Man,
and then you have no financial literacy, and you're just like, I made it. I'm done.
Right,
What do I
right.
need to do? Go to school for what?
Yeah. And so then, went to Harvard College. And then, again, I knew mom and dad didn't have any money. So then I was like, I need to get back into sports, do something that, which I was playing sports, since a kid, playing youth football.
Okay.
So then, went, played football at Harvard College and was blessed enough to get a scholarship at the University of Hawaii. And then,
Manoa, right?
yeah, at Manoa, and was able to play there, was able to come out with a degree there and come back home. Senior year, man, dad passed away, and then it was just like, okay, like
You're the
gotta-
next one up.
yeah, I got to finish up and come back home and help and support, and so that's exactly what happened. And then that's how I got involved with After School All Stars. Got involved with After School All Stars, never knowing that it was going to be a career.
Yeah.
Because, I thought it was just going to be a stepping stone to something else. I knew I wanted to get into social services and the helping profession, but it became a reality where, California is the only state in the country that has, like, state funding that supports after-school programs like this, right?
I didn't realize
yeah,
that.
so it's actually part of like, the state budget. So that's why I tell parents, I tell folks, hey, it's free.
Yeah, this
Like,
is, you've already
yeah.
paid taxes into this
Yeah,
to
so,
have this service.
So now is it free, and it helps and supports, a lifeline for parents to continue to go to work,
Right.
stay at work. They know that their child's
Is
involved
safe, and
in
they're
our
good,
program.
getting productive.
Exactly. And so then, so it's been a blessing to be able to be a part of that growth and that movement.
And so I know growing up, I went to school in Samoa, and I went to school out here in the States. And one of the biggest things that I see that doesn't help the cycle is the fact, and I do hope that the after school program does this, is, like you said, financial literacy. Like, they don't really, the general education doesn't really prepare you for reality, right? The real life. So do you tend in your program implement that in the after school program?
Yeah, we do. So financial literacy is definitely a big piece of our career exploration opportunities. We actually have a high school workforce readiness program, but financial literacy is actually embedded in our middle school, high schools, even taught in our elementaries.
Oh, that's awesome.
But we have our high school readiness program where financial literacy is a big piece of it. There's an 8-week curriculum where students enroll into this high school workforce readiness called the Quest for Success. There's a color assessment. So the color assessment pretty much, the results that come from that really tells students like, what possible careers that, they mostly connect with, right? So blue, orange, so they kind of find out what their color is. And then we have them just select one career.
Got it.
Right? That's most connected to their strong suit or their color. And then based off of that, then we go into the whole salaries and kind of taking a look at mapping out what life is going to be. Then that's when the financial literacy comes in.
Right.
Right. So we have external partners that come in and provide that service for us. Then we go into resume building. We get into interview skills. We got mock interviews, connecting with different partners to be able to come in and do the Q&A sessions, which you call the CEO speaker series.
Yeah.
And that's the Q&A sessions that I talked about earlier.
Right.
And then that leads to paid internships, job leads. So we have great partners that can help and support us in that area. And so we're doing that now with a few venture capitalist companies at this time, and they've just been great partners. Great folks that really believe in the work. And it was just easy because when you talk about kids, when you talk about youth, when you talk about low-income communities and what we could do to be able to support these students and these communities that don't have a lot of resources, it's an easy sell.
Yeah.
Right. And so partners are like, hey, we'll
Count
definitely
me
come in. Like, let us know what we could do, how we could support. And so we're doing a few of those Q&A sessions next month, and then moving into so we got a list of partners and stuff. So I also lead our development team to be able to help and connect with these corporate and community sponsors and partners to be able to come and support that work.
Wow, that's so amazing. Now, as a director, though, what does your day look like typically when you're at work? Like, are you on hands with these kids,
no,
or
so,
are you?
Yeah, so
okay.
it's more of working with partners.
Okay.
Also assist and support with the policy advocacy of the work, our youth leadership program. So I'm working closely with school districts, with state agencies, serving on different statewide boards, really kind of tapping into what's happening more on like the macro level, and then have it just kind of trickle down, have it make sense to be able to digest it enough to where we can just share that
and
information
translate this
with,
information
exactly
to
to
the
our,
kids.
our staff and our team.
How
down
many
to
are
ground
on your
zero.
staff?
So there's over 500
Nice.
of staff that we have within the organization.
Got it.
Within the development team that we have, there's 5 of us on the team.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
now when you got your degree at Manoa, right, at UH Manoa, by the way, how was your football career over there?
It was great. I mean, I really loved it out there. It was a great experience. I think, I tell people, if you're going to go out there, go to school, play ball, you just got to remember to go to class.
Right.
Right.
The island life,
great
it's too
experience,
easy,
man.
right?
Yeah.
Too easy to
But
just kind
definitely
of chill.
discipline.
Yeah.
But I think what I appreciated the most was be able to meet with our different people, right? It was a culture shock for me when I first got there because that was my first time actually going to Hawaii.
And now you're living there.
Right, because the only time it was just a pass-through.
Right, to
in
get on the next
grade
flight.
to get to sophomore, right?
And you're in sixth grade. You're not really comprehending what's going on.
Once getting there, like when you talk about, like the aloha spirit is real. Like people I'm a kid from LA. I'm over in Hawaii.
Right.
And they're like, hey, what's up? What's up? I'm like, man, you just don't walk up on a kid from LA like,
They
talking
go,
about
what's up?
I'm
Wait,
like,
what?
so that got some getting used to. But it was great to be able to, hang out with my Fijian brothers, like, my folks in New Zealand, Tahiti, Hawaii, right? And it was just.
And all walks
and it
of
was
island
crazy,
life.
Right? It was a culture shock because of me growing up here in LA. Not to say I didn't have that experience of being a part of Pacific Islander Club, intermingling with others.
But do you feel
here in
like
the
you
stateside, but
more had to always look behind you, make sure that everything is okay here in LA versus when you're
Right.
on the island, you're kind of like,
yeah, well, it was free, right?
Yeah.
Like stress free. I didn't have to walk around with this burden, right? But what was interesting was coming back home during breaks. So coming back home because in Hawaii, the aloha spirit, right, really kind of receiving that love. Come back home, and it was sad that I'm like, man, I'm back home, right? I'll see Polly's at the corner at the red light. Yo, what's up, bro? I'm like, you know what I mean?
Like,
Just always just kind of mean mugging. I'm like, man, I forget, man, I'm back home now.
right.
Like I'm cruising like 50 miles per hour on the freeway, and I'm like, oh, nah, we're pushing 80, 90
Right.
out here.
You get run over.
But yeah, it was definitely a great experience out there.
And so you spent 4 years out there?
I was out there for a few years. Was that 3 years?
Oh, dude, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And so then when you came back, you went right into the after school program.
Right into after school. Yeah, right.
And
into
you've
after
been there
school
ever
also.
since.
Been there ever since.
And so then at what point did you decide that you wanted to get your master's degree? Because you're
Man,
also hold
it
a
took some
master's.
time. It took some time, and I think that what really led me. So my brother, shout out to Mo Sopping out there. He's actually a professor at Cal State Dominguez
Nice.
Hills and also at Cal State Long Beach. So he teaches the Masters in Social Work program.
Cool.
And so he's like, bro, you need to come over here, man, and get onto
Be
the
a master.
NSW
Come on.
program. And I was like, bro, I think you got that side locked in. I'm gonna go do the clinical route. So yeah, went the MFT route, and I think that the reason why I went there was because when I was a site coordinator at the time, running programs at the school sites, and then even becoming like a regional manager, overseeing like 10 schools, I really saw just the impact when you hear about wraparound services, working closely with social workers, and really taking a look at the mental health of families and children and youth.
Well, as a
It's
Pacific
huge,
Islander,
right?
mental health alone is like a bad word. Like we
Yeah,
don't really
it's
acknowledge
taboo,
that
right?
doesn't
There's a negative
exist.
stigma, right? And so, yeah, that's something I think that was another reason why too as well. There's not too many, Pacific Islander MFTs or what's that, licensed therapists that are out there, right?
Well, just I mean, you think about therapy, and all of
Yeah.
us think like, "Oh, you're a nut job." So,
Right. Yeah, that's
and we
the
don't
thing,
ever
like, people
admit it.
think you're
Everything is
crazy.
swept under the mat, right?
Yeah.
Like,
But yeah, so what's people think you're crazy, but it's actually one of the smartest things you can do,
right.
right?
And even when you are well adjusted,
Yeah.
having just that release and talking to somebody else, like you said, I can't even imagine if you didn't meet that third party at your construction job, right? The 60-year-old man, and
Life
then
changing.
life changing. That you could have gone down a completely different path,
For sure.
still been a construction worker, and giving the same advice then at your age to some other kid
Right.
that you see coming along, right?
Yeah.
And yet that moment in time is kind of like the turning point for you to kind of pursue all of these other things and find out your
Right.
real passion and your real and
Yeah,
your real
definitely.
path.
I think as I talked about earlier about these morning rituals, right, and really getting clear in terms of clearing like the path to really connecting to this higher frequency, like
Yeah.
whatever you want to call that, right, to a higher power. Really kind of taking a look at what's getting in the way of you accomplishing and achieving your goals. It's something that, as I look back, I'm like, man, there were definitely defining moments and events that I look back at and I'm like, dude, this is crazy. Man. I look at like
Mapping it out,
how the hell did I get here? And then I just remember, I'm like, man, going back to faith, right? Going back to the power of prayer and how that has really pulled me through, right? To
And your
where I'm at
LDS
now.
faith is,
Right.
is quite strong as well,
Yeah.
and that plays a part.
Definitely.
Would you say?
So, working with the youth, I mean, that definitely has kept me young. I think just really staying connected
Making
to
you
our
feel like you
youth
could do
and,
these boot camps.
man,
and-
trying to keep up with these young bloods out here, these youngsters out here. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. I mean, so then it took you a while to get to the master's program, and then
Yeah.
when you decided, all right, because you just received your master's a few years ago.
Yeah. Back in 2016.
Oh wow.
I finished and then was doing hours and then took a break and then just
Because life happens.
Yeah, life happens, and I think that so much that I think I've learned more about myself being a part of this graduate program, going through the MFT route, working my hours, seeing clients, individuals, couples, groups, but definitely, yeah, you definitely learn a lot about yourself, and I think that that's where we're at in terms of when we talk about social justice, racism, everything that we're facing as a country, and even just taking a look at as a people, right? Definitely really taking a look at, the worldview and how we see the world, right? And be able to take that lens off and pick up the lens of someone else's lens to be able to see, because we all grew up differently. Our lived experiences are different, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's really being able to take a pause and really kind of take a look at self, and then having these, I think the first thing that you'll learn in an MFT program is how to listen, like how to listen. And they always tell us like we don't give advice, right? So like we don't give advice. We're working with clients. We're creating goals with the client. We're creating interventions with the client. We're creating a treatment plan with the client, right? So I think
what do
that's
you
important.
replace advice with? Like the word advice. So you say you create or you're working together.
Yeah, so that's what the counseling, right? The counseling with each other,
Got
be able
it.
to work with each other.
So it's more, like you said, more of a
right.
self-discovery in yourself rather than
Exactly.
somebody else getting the advice, right?
Right.
From someone else who has never walked a day in your
For
shoes.
sure. You know, and there's those moments and times when you're in session and you know what the answer is,
Right. But
right?
you're
But you're
trying,
like,
you
know,
can't really feed it to
yeah.
them.
So you kind of help, again, you just work. And then I think one of the things I've learned too as well is that kind of like a popcorn machine, people pop at different times.
Hey.
Right? So I think as we understand that, like we understand, like, like not going to get it now.
Yeah.
I mean, like we were all kids and our parents were like, dude, if you don't,
Right.
this is what's going to happen. Right?
Yes,
You keep going
yes.
down this path, this is going to happen.
Right. And
so
that's
it's like
and
one
that's
of
if
those
we're
things,
blessed to have parents
Right.
who actually
help guide us. And,
right,
yeah.
help guide us, give us shit enough to even
Right.
give us like, hey, if you keep going down this one, or even to be just self-confident enough to admit that, look at my life, right? And I think it definitely, a lot of this, I don't know what you would say, but starts at home.
Yeah.
And so the challenges already stem from there, but it doesn't have to define you, I would think, because I mean, for me, if I definitely followed the path in my own home, I'd be in a completely different area. I'd be doing completely different things, and so how did you discover, like you're talking about your morning mantras? When did you, or who told you, or what book did you read to actually get you to heed that information and actually apply it to your life, doing your morning mantras?
So I think, that was really from, I would say that from the graduates program. I think that really kind of taught me to really kind of, again, like you got to take a look at the person in the mirror and really be honest and very, honest about where you're at, right? I think there's lessons learned that as we talked about, lessons learned. Fail forward is a term that, I've learned earlier on too as well.
That, fail forward.
It's like fail forward, right? Meaning if you're going to fail at something, like fail fast, learn,
right,
but
learn
don't
from
repeat the same mistakes, right?
Right.
Like that's why I was like fail forward.
Right, not
right? Learn
backwards,
from the
not
lesson,
stay the same in the same
let's
place.
move on, right?
Yeah.
So fail as quickly as possible. But yeah, I think that it was through the graduates program
That really
had
got
me
you
just to say, hey, because if I'm not right, no one right? I said it all the time, like, on my little hashtags, my workouts, my posts. That's the first thing. That's my first hashtag. It's like, get your mind right, right? Definitely got to get your mind right. I think that, as you plan out the work, then you work out the plan.
Ooh,
right?
message.
You plan that out. You definitely want to have a game plan in terms of your response. And I'll kind of, two things I've learned, I'll just kind of drop it here, is what's it? E plus R equals O, right? E equals the events in life as you go through life moment to moment. R, the plus R is your reaction or response to that event. So in this event that, someone cuts you off, there's this automatic response, right? Whatever that automatic response is, right?
Equals then, can I just take a stab at this? Is it outcome?
Outcome.
All right, yes,
Right.
I'm learning something.
But the important thing to know, though, about that O is that outcome, that's on you. So you can't point the finger like, hey, man, this person pissed me off, they cut me off, and that's why, it's like, no, that just means you got to slow down.
Yeah.
That means that you got to work on that R. You got to take a look at how are you responding, because you got to take ownership of that. You can't place blame on someone else by
Right. Somebody
because of
else's
how-
actions shouldn't.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Your reaction is still your responsibility.
That's all you, man. You got to own that.
No, I don't.
So positive, so positive
going
or
to.
negative, right? Or whatever that outcome is. So if you've been responding negatively, you can't be expecting a positive outcome, right?
That's such a great
So,
formula, and it applies to
yeah.
everything. You can literally
Yeah.
input it in everything in your life, right? Like
Definitely.
health, for instance. I mean, I definitely want to get into your health path, because there was a time where you actually changed that and decided to do your boot camps and join. Take us through that.
Man, it's definitely been, again, it's something I've learned in graduates program is, you got to find your supports, right? You got to find your support systems. So for me, that was just another support system. I have a support system at work, at home, at church, right? So you have all these different support systems. So that, that was kind of new for me to kind of step into. Then, create this whole like fitness community, started being a part of different teams, and then ran to, shout out to Ohana Strong out there.
Hey,
That's my sparring team out there. So I started off at Carson Camp Transformation, and then just started kind of, going there and really learning, just the meal prep, intake, exercising, all that, right? And then I just kind of went into like challenging myself to do something more than just doing a high intensity interval training workout. It was like, all right, what about a sparring race? Then it was like, okay, after we did that, then it was like, all right, what about a Ragnar race? I was like, Ragnar, what? That was a Ragnar
excuse me?
race, right? So the Ragnar race was a trip because it was like a 2 vans, 12-member team. So you had 6 runners in each van.
Holy
right?
cow.
And we actually, it was a relay race from Huntington Beach to San Diego. So it was a relay race of over 200 miles, right? And so, it was a really cool, fun race. We were able to do that. And so that was a Ragnar Road. About a month ago, I just came back from Zion National Park.
Oh, beautiful.
And so we were out there, and so we did the Ragnar trails. And so we were literally like camping at Zion National Park, and just someone's constantly out there running, right?
Oh.
We started Friday morning.
My shins are hurting
Saturday
just listening
afternoon.
to you right now.
But, it's like those challenges, right? Those things where, and then, doing these marathons, like never in a million years would I have thought of running 26.2 miles. I'm like, hell no. I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. But again, I like the mental game, right? So
and have you done a marathon yet?
Yeah, so I was able to complete 2 of them last year.
26.2 miles.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, what's it, last year in March?
Congratulations.
That was the last
event before the shutdown?
Before it hit, right? That race almost got canceled. What was crazy about that is that...
And that was your first race?
No, that was my second marathon.
One, okay.
Yeah, and then that following week, I was supposed to be in New Mexico to do another race called the Baton, Death March. And that was a 26
Death March? That should be, in the title alone, I think that should deter you from actually doing it.
But again, just these challenges, man, just kind of placing... It was a 26.2 march with a 35-pound, what's a backpack. So full of rice,
that
canned
sounds very
goods.
Military.
It is.
Yeah.
So it's actually, to celebrate and honor those that actually was at World War II in the
Our boy
Philippines,
R&D
right?
too. Yeah,
And
you
so,
know about that.
So that was something that I was, it's, again, another challenge, another event. But that really challenged the mindset of, one of my trainers, when I first joined his elite team, and he was like, man, I'm trying to challenge you guys, because he'll give us homework assignments, right? So let's just say, he said, hey, you got to do like 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, right? And 10 jumping jacks.
Like,
right? All right, cool. What's that, light work, right? So we come back, and so we got to do the video, and that's the accountability, and you got to post it up in a private chat, private group. So we all come back, and he's like, you know what? I got all your videos. Great. I saw you guys did 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, 10 jumping jacks. But what so you guys just did like the bare minimum.
Right.
Right?
No extra credit there.
Right. So he's like, what I'm trying to get you guys to do is, even if it's just one more rep, right? He's like, so if you go to a job and you go and ask for a raise, and we're like, a raise for what?
Right.
Right? Well, I'll show up on time, come to work, and like, okay, well, that's just the bare minimum. That's what you're getting paid to do, right? But what have you done? What extra work have you done to really kind of say, hey,
I deserve this.
What's it justifies a raise, right? So just that mindset of like, man, just, I mean, well, whatever obstacles. I mean, I remember one time I had a flat tire. What was it, downtown LA, the middle of like 110 and the 10 freeway. I had to be at a workout though. I had a workout, right? So staying true to my commitments, the accountability, and I'm like, man, I don't think I'm gonna make the workout. So I'll take a picture of the car, right? So that's like that right there would have been like an excuse to miss the workout.
Right.
But I was able to, tow truck came where we get the car to the house. I still had time. I could easily just say, I'm not gonna go.
Right.
And I was like, I went. Right. So I'm like, man, I jumped in my sister's car, went to the camp, showed up, and then they were like, bro, I thought you had a flat tire. Yeah, I did. That's done. I'm here. Like, let's go. But it's just that kind of mindset where it's like, man, dude, like, it doesn't matter what happens in life, right? I mean, just got to apply yourself, But, really when it says you versus you, it's really you versus you.
Yeah.
So whatever, obstacles and challenges that show up in life, that definitely has gotten me through a lot of different challenges and obstacles. I mean, the passing of my nephew Donnell, I mean, I think.
Very sorry.
Right. So going through his passing, at that time, in that moment, I was at 24. It was like at 24 at the gym. Got on the treadmill, and I remember looking at it was about like 10, 11, 10, 12. Get the call, find out, right? And then I'm like, man, in that moment of time, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, I was good, right?
Wow.
And so, but I mean, catching me like 10 years back, I probably would have been doing 10 years plus.
Right.
But, that definitely has helped me a lot to kind of get through. So, I mean, that's what the fitness journey has helped me do, is really kind of strengthen the mindset to continue to push and move forward.
So cool. I do stalk you, by the way, avidly. I'm not a troll, but I do stalk you. And it's so, I mean, I feel like I've been with you in your journey, as a bystander, obviously, and just watching you accomplish these challenges, one challenge at a time, and just remembering that, when, that extra rep that you talk about, when you feel like you can't.
Right.
You actually can. There's still something left in there for you to
man,
push
we're leaving
through.
so much in the tank, man. We're leaving so much on the table, right? Like, as soon as you think you're done, you're tired, you're tapped out, there's so much more you can do, and you're just, and you find out a lot about yourself when you do these different events, right? That's challenging, because then when you push through, you're like, man, I remember I got to like mile in the marathon, I got to mile like 16, 18.
Is that where they kind of tell
done.
you there's a wall sometimes? Like where
I was like, I get there,
I'm done.
pull in, right? I see people pulling up to the medic, canopies and the booths, and I see some of them actually get carted out, right? And so you see that. So mentally, I'm just like, I'm not stopping.
Right?
I know my feet.
I
was like, the last one, I know my feet. It was blistered up. It was burning. And I was like, yeah, we're not stopping.
And that's mile 16. You still have 10.2 miles left.
I was like, no, we got to keep going.
Because the minute you stop, that might be it.
So I was like, nah, we're definitely not doing that. We're just going to keep going. We're just going to keep going.
That's a different kind of warrior mentality right there. So, and we all have it in us.
Man. I think, so when people see the post, I've learned at the camp when I was actually in the challenges, they challenge you to post, right? That's more of accountability. Mm-hmm. And I think for any goal, right? Any goal, if you are setting a goal, tell somebody.
Yeah.
Tell somebody,
so that there's some
partner,
accountability.
Someone, right. Accountability. So then after the challenges were done, I took it upon myself to do my own personal challenge. And that's why you'll see all the postings. It's not to be like, hey,
look at me,
look at me, I'm over working out, you're not. It's just, that's just like, man, for me, it's just holding myself accountable, right? Just posting. If it inspires somebody, man, great.
Right.
But that's it's actually more for me. Right? It's more of a personal, what's that journey?
I love that. I always say that. I mean, somebody had actually messaged me, oh man, you inspire me, you motivate me, and I go, that is purely accidental because I'm totally not thinking about inspiring someone or motivating someone because I am my own challenge every single day. Waking up and like you said, you versus you. I look in the mirror and I'm like, who are you going to be today? What are you going to do today? And I'm constantly going back and forth and arm wrestling myself constantly.
Yeah. I mean, even with all the quotes and stuff that I share, people are like, man, that's so inspiring. I was like, dude, that's cool for, you know,
Yeah,
again, that was just
that's a
what
reminder
was
for
kind
me.
of going in my mind. It was like another self note, right? Reminder, hey, you know, I'm really like talking to myself, right?
Yeah.
In these posts in a weird way. Um, but yeah, I
So in other
mean,
words, you have no friends. Is that what you're trying to say?
man, it's again, just you versus you.
It's
I
a
guess I'm
lonely
by myself.
road. Me, myself, and I
Yep.
got this.
Yeah, man.
Okay, you talked about the one formula. Okay, but then there
Yeah.
was a second thing
So
that you
there's
learned
a
in
second one.
your,
There's a few of them. I have a handful, but for sure the E plus R equals O.
which I love. I'm stealing it,
That's
by the
one of
way.
them. And then Q-tip. So the acronym for Q-tip,
Okay.
QTIP, right? So Q-tip is quit taking it personal, right? So just as simple as that is, like quit taking it personal.
Do you hear that,
Again,
Joseph? Stop
you
taking
know,
everything so personal.
quit taking it personal, man.
Quit taking it personal.
You know, we all go through things, man. We all go through challenges in life. And again, man, like someone cuts you off, man, they're probably in a rush, man. Like, I mean, how many of us have been, you know, on the road and, you know, you're not even thinking like, man, dude, we've
Right.
cut people off. You know, I like, you're in a rush to
Me,
get to
never.
work. You're trying
I've
to get to
never.
an
I've been
interview.
absolutely perfect.
You're trying to get to the hospital, whatever that emergency is, or maybe it's not even an emergency, but again, man, it just challenges you to work on that R, quit taking it personal. But one of the other ones that I learned over the past couple of years that have helped me too as well is stop, drop, and roll, right? So,
Like as in the fire?
so right, like so the whole stop and drop and roll as in the fire, but then also when you talk about when you're going through a challenge, right?
Okay.
Something is happening, right? There's an obstacle, or you're feeling stressed out. So the stop, drop, and roll is a stop, drop to center, drop to your values, drop to your faith, drop to whatever that is that's going to get you back to you, right? To being you, the wholesome you, right? And then be able to roll then into a whole different direction, change that whole trajectory, heading in a whole, you know, to the light, the love, the lessons, right, of life, and then just so that whole stop, drop, and roll, heading to a whole different direction. Because, like I said, like we talked about earlier, man, this these little turns in life and the fail forwards and the Q-tip and the E plus R equals O, man, I think those are the different things that really help me to stay true,
Right.
right, to self. And so, that's just a few tips there that's helped me to stay true to myself and stay true and trying to be, when they talk about being the best version of yourself, that has definitely has helped me to be that version of, being the positive person. And I'm not saying that everything's gonna be positive, because you do have to give yourself permission to, hey, maybe you're gonna be pissed off, be angry, be stressed out.
Yes.
But the important thing is not to live there,
Right.
right? It's like you
Roll.
gotta have, again,
You gotta.
better have a plan. So when that happens, again, what are you gonna do to respond when that happen? When that happens, like we know that. So that's another thing for training for me, is training for that call, training for that 1, 2 a.m. call, someone passing, or whatever obstacles, challenge comes. Like,
I
cool.
mean, just like a testament when
I'm
your
ready.
nephew, right,
Right?
passed away, and like you said, if it was the
Yeah.
old you,
Yeah,
it would have
man,
been a
I'd
different
I'd been
story.
lost. Yeah, I would have been lost. I don't think, like, mentally I would have been able to
Handle
once to
that
get
kind
through
of
that,
thing,
right? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely has been helpful.
Yeah. Well, now in your career, what do you want to further accomplish? I mean, you've already had so many accomplishments in this after school program.
Right.
Are you going to be staying in this line of work for as long as you can, or?
Yeah, definitely. I think that that's where my passion lies. Hopefully, be able to have run my own organization, be executive director,
Run your
president, CEO of.
organization. Have you even thought of maybe a name for it?
I haven't thought of a name for it, but I know one of the things that we've talked a lot within the Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander communities is a youth center, right? But just so much of the experience that I've learned in the app school field, and just with the grant writing and funding and just the business aspect of it all, the admin part of it all. I think I have a good understanding. I mean, definitely a lot more to learn, but I think that definitely be able to have a nonprofit in the future to be able to run programs, especially for our Pacific Islander students. Definitely keeping it open, but I think
Right,
that
but
for our Pacific Islander students is, because again, I think, just when you look at our communities, there's a lot of talent, right?
Just raw,
Raw talent.
God-given talent, for sure.
And so, what I've learned in after school is that you just got to provide a space, man. You got to provide this space, have the staff and the stuff, right? The supplies, materials, equipment, whatever you need
Yeah, the
to be
resources
able
to make
to
this happen.
be able to make it happen, right?
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that with my athletic background. That has always been one of my, I guess, bucket lists, right?
Right.
My way to give back to my community, because representing American Samoa in the Olympics,
Mm,
I had to go everywhere else. Like, I had to
right.
go to Germany, I had to go to Colorado, I had to go to Utah, I had to go everywhere but Samoa,
Right.
New Zealand,
Right.
Australia, to get the training that I needed, because we didn't have the resources
Right.
in our little island
Right.
to be able to actually help the talent that I had to progress and actually be a contender, right?
Right.
In the Olympics. And the thing is our raw talent, and I'm so excited that you have that in your list of things to do,
Yeah.
the youth center, because we just need a chance, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's no reason for us not to be a medalist in anything
Right.
that we do in the
Right.
world scheme of things. I mean, we are so little, we're a needle in a haystack, and yet in professional football, right, we are in every single national football team. Yeah, like, that's
Right.
insane.
Right.
You come from this small percentage, and I mean, anybody that even goes into the sport is only this many, right?
Right.
Only this small percentage actually makes it.
Right.
And yet we are in every single team, and they actually recruit us for that. And I wanted, and that, I think it's not recognized that we can do that in every single sport, in
Yeah.
every single aspect.
Right.
Not just sports, not just athleticism, academics, like,
For sure.
and just to be able to provide that resource is, and you said it, you hit it on the head, where it's not just now providing the space, it's what comes with it,
Right.
right? You got to have the coach,
Right.
you got to have the professional in it that comes in
Right.
and actually teaches you and shows you how to get this done, because you can provide the space, but if you don't know what you're doing, you're still going to
Right.
be stuck.
Definitely.
And that was one of my biggest things I wanted to give back to my island, was I want an Olympic style facility that these kids can actually, like, all our people, or at least some ones, for
Yeah.
me, can really just give it a go and give it a try, and not have to be outsourced everywhere else
Yeah.
to get the training that we
Right.
need. Like, I don't know. I'm hoping. I hope I see it in my lifetime. So I'll keep my fingers crossed for that. But that's
Yeah.
commendable. That's so
Yeah.
great and admirable, and I can't wait to see that happen, because I see it happening already. So that's
Thank
really
you.
cool. Okay, now before I let you go, with all that you've learned, and in your profession, in your personal life, what what is it that you would like to, I guess, recommendations, not
Mm.
only to parents, but also to the youth that you do every single day, that
Mm.
that isn't part of your program, right?
Right.
But what would you recommend that they even start with, like, to be able to be ready for life, or to help their children get ready for life?
Man, great question. Um, I think it's our youth right now, right, are definitely in a, a tough spot, tough space. I mean, when we talk about SEL, social emotional learning, we're talking about mental health. Um, I think that's something, as I talk about these morning rituals and daily mantras, be able to have the self confidence. I think, the self confidence is huge. I think that right there will definitely launch them into whatever path that they want to go to, right? Um, I think at the same time, I mean, I think what I've learned being in App School All Stars is more than just after school. It was definitely my own like personal growth and professional development. Um, I consider myself like an introvert still, right? But I had to learn um, to be in these like leadership roles, like take the leap of faith. I
Mm.
just had a conversation earlier with a colleague of mine. There's a staff member that um, is like, I don't know if I want to take that this next leap, this next step into being in what's a middle management, right? Great opportunity, but she's like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm
Right.
ready. I was like, I don't know if we're ever ready, right?
Right.
I think it's one of those things where you have the self confidence, you have the faith, and then like you go in. I mean, I don't think anyone really goes into anything fully prepared,
Right.
right? You take that leap of faith, and you actually actually what's that, bet on yourself, do everything you can. I think be willing, open, curious, coachable. And I think that's one of your attitude, right? Having a positive attitude, being open to creating these different possibilities and opportunities, to not shortchange yourself, um, to know that like, man, you're like, you're enough, you belong. I think for our young Pacific Islander people, I think that's something that I would definitely highly encourage, right? It's like, man, and I think that's the onus on us as the adults and as like the stewards of our community, of our people, is to be able to find ways, right, to help and support that effort of saying, hey, one of the things we talk about in After School All Stars Los Angeles is always about like, look, we're not going to have our students all dressed up with nowhere to go.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna pump them up, and we're
What a
gonna
picture.
back them up, and we're gonna say, hey, you can do this. Well, where's the opportunity?
Where is that
Where
opportunity?
where do they go, right? But even understanding what that process is, and I think for parents too as well, one thing I could just speak to for education wise, working with administrators, working with principals and counselors, is that for parents to get involved. I mean, get involved in your students' education. Don't wait till the end of the year to find out that they're not going to graduate,
Right.
because I see every
And then beat
year
them
there's this
when you haven't
long line
been.
of parents, waiting to talk to the counselor to talk about what can we do. It's like, dude,
Like,
it's too
what
late now,
happened? Where?
right? Like you had every opportunity throughout the school year, open house, right? Not you had, parent meetings, and so they have all these meetings and opportunities for parents to engage. But I also got to say too as well, there's also like a language barrier
Yeah.
in there too as well. So I definitely don't want to say, hey, not to what was that, discount that, but I think just to get involved, be more engaged in your kids' lives, be able to be that support system that they need. And also I think just be able to believe and have faith in your kids, right? And know that your kids are going to transform, they're going to change, they're going to, as you help to guide them and actually be there for them, I think is an important, piece of not advice, but just
Right.
like,
Just a little bit of a
some tips
recommendation,
there.
maybe.
Just but I would say just get
Try it
involved,
out.
man, in your kids' lives when it comes to their education. And then for our kids, man, I think self-confidence is one of the biggest things that will help to just boost and elevate them, their self-esteem. And also, man, for our youth, our kids out there, the worst thing you could do to um, is actually comparing yourself to others, right? That's the biggest way to just kill your self-esteem and self-confidence. So continue to do you, be the best you. Definitely reach out, to your teachers, educators, parents, families, those that are moving in a direction where you want to be. Definitely, if you want to be a lawyer, doctor, whatever it is that you want to do, wherever you want to be, um, you know, find out who that person is,
Right.
talk to them, find out what are they doing, how did they get there, right? To start really creating this roadmap, right? Because I think that that's something that was missing. For us, coming up in Carson, I mean, a lot of folks left and never came back.
Yeah.
And so I think that was something that, for me, I took it personally coming back from Hawaii to say, hey, I want to get involved. And then I'm grateful and thankful for the community mentors too as well. I want to shout them out. Was it K1 Young, Baka Fatatau, Chris Mamalanga, all these great leaders that really helped to shape and mold me into the community work, but also to remember, like, who we are, remember to, always, represent our people in the best light, right?
Absolutely.
In all that we do. So, but again, just grateful for the opportunity to be able to be here with you and, to share my little story and background, and hope that, the listeners out there, got something out of it.
Yeah. Well, the pleasure was definitely all mine. So thank you so much for taking the time. I know that every second is precious, especially in your plan and your daily routines. And so just thank you for just giving back and coming back. Because that, like you said, it says a lot. You know, how are we supposed to help each other get to the next point if we don't get the ones that are successful to come back and kind of show us that roadmap so that we can avoid some of these other challenges, right?
Right.
But thank you again, and I can't wait to be at the opening of your youth center soon.
Oh
I already
man,
know it.
be a lot of prayers.
It's gonna be fantastic. It's me, your girl, Miss Lulu, and just a big shout out to Mr. Donny ALILIU for being on Everyone Loves Lulu. Make sure you check us out on islandblocknetwork.com every Wednesday. See, hear, and speak love. I love you. Mwah.